The longship's prow sliced through the churning grey waters as the wind sang through the rigging. Njala Zendottir stood at the stern, her fiery red hair whipping across her face as she watched her homeland shrink into the mist. The village of Ravnfjord had been her home for 19 winters, but now it cast her out like a diseased thing, unfit to walk among her own people. Her uncle Hava had spat at her feet during the Thing assembly, declaring her Niinga, without honor, before the entire clan. A Zendottir bewitched by an enemy, he had roared, his beard quivering with rage. Our blood has flowed at Torgstad hands for 3 generations. Your father would rise from his burial mound if he knew of your betrayal. Njala's jaw tightened at the memory. The blood feud had consumed her family since before her birth. Every Zendottir child learned to hate the Torgstad clan with their first breath, to dream of vengeance with their first thoughts. Her own father had fallen to a Torgstad axe when she was but 12 summers old, leaving her to the care of her uncle and his endless thirst for retribution. Yet in her heart, Njala knew the truth that none would hear, the blood feud brought nothing but sorrow. It was a serpent devouring both clans from within, leaving widows and orphans in its wake. Each death demanded another in an endless cycle that the gods themselves must weary of witnessing. This belief she had kept silent until she had met Quirin Torgstad. The wind shifted, bringing the scent of salt and coming rain. Njala pulled her fur cloak tighter and traced the small runestone pendant hidden beneath her wool tunic. The stone was warm against her skin despite the biting cold, always warm, as though it held a life of its own. Her grandmother had pressed it into her hands on her deathbed 5 winters past. This is older than our blood feud, child, the old woman had whispered. Keep it close. The power sleeps within you, waiting. When the time comes, you will know. Njala had dismissed it as the ramblings of a dying woman. Yet the stone had grown warmer in recent moons, pulsing sometimes in rhythm with her heartbeat. She had told no one, not even Quirin. Such talk would only confirm what many whispered behind her back, that she was touched by Seer, the women's magic that even the Volva of their village regarded with suspicion. Now she had nothing but the stone, a small bundle of belongings, and the memory of Quirin's promise, I will find you. By Friar's oath, I will find you. The seas grew rougher as they ventured further from the Norwegian coast. The merchant ship bound for Hedeby was her only means of escape after the Thing's judgment. The captain had taken her meager silver without question, though his eyes had lingered too long on her face, assessing her worth should his cargo need supplementing at the slave markets. Land ahead, came the call from the bow, days later than expected. Njala raised her head, expecting to see the trading port of Hedeby. Instead, a jagged coastline emerged from the mist, rocky and forbidding. This isn't Hedeby, she said to the captain, who merely smiled with rotting teeth. Change of plans, girl. The winds favor a journey to Northumbria. The Saxons will pay well for a healthy thrall with hair like yours. Cold dread settled in Njala's stomach. Before she could reach for the small knife hidden in her boot, rough hand seized her from behind. The stone against her chest flared with sudden heat that made her gasp. Take care with that one, the captain called to his men. She's worth more unblemished. As they dragged her below deck, Njala felt something stir within her, not fear, but a strange, simmering power that made the runestone pulse against her skin like a second heart. 5 days later, Njala stood in the muddy marketplace of a Saxon settlement, her wrists bound with coarse rope that chafed her skin raw. The captain barked prices to potential buyers while she stared stonily ahead, refusing to show fear. The stone at her neck had grown so hot it nearly burned, yet none seemed to notice its glow through her clothing. I'll take that one, a deep voice said in the Norse tongue. Njala's head snapped up, her heart hammering against her ribs. A tall figure stood before her, face half hidden beneath a hood, but she would know that voice anywhere. Quirin Torgstad had found her, as he had sworn. The captain named an outrageous price, and to her astonishment, Quirin paid without haggling. When his fingers brushed hers as he cut her bonds, she felt the runestone pulse once more. "How?" she whispered as he led her away from the marketplace. "My father's ships trade with the Saxons," he said quietly. "I heard rumors of a Norse woman with hair like fire being sold. I prayed to all the gods it wasn't you, even as I sailed faster than I ever have." His grey eyes, the color of storm clouds, studied her face. "Are you hurt?" "Only my pride," she answered, rubbing her wrists. "But how did you convince your father to let you come?" "After the thing, he doesn't know." Quirin's jaw tightened. "I took a ship and a small crew loyal to me. We must be away from here before nightfall." They reached the edge of the settlement where 4 warriors waited with horses. Njala recognized them as Torgstad men, their expressions unreadable as Quirin helped her mount. "The Jarl will have your head for this," one of them muttered. "Perhaps," Quirin replied, swinging onto his own horse. "But I made an oath, and I will not break it." He looked at Njala, his expression softening. "We ride north. There's a fjord where we can shelter until I decide our next move." As they galloped away from the Saxon settlement, Njala felt both fear and wonder. Quirin had risked everything to find her, his position as heir to the Torgstad holdings, the loyalty of his men, perhaps even his life. For her, the daughter of his clan's bitterest enemy. Their first meeting had been just as unlikely. During the spring gathering at Kaupang, where a temporary peace allowed rival clans to trade, Njala had been collecting herbs when a wild boar charged from the underbrush. Quirin, hunting in the same forest, had taken down the beast with a single spear throw. His hood had fallen back, revealing the Torgstad brooch that fastened his cloak. Enemy. Blood feud. The words had echoed in her mind as they stared at one another, the dead boar between them. "You should have let it gore me," she had said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "One less Zendottir in the world." His laugh had surprised her. "And what would the gods think of me, letting a maiden die when my speararm was ready? Not even a blood feud demands such dishonor." That chance meeting had led to another, and another, secret moment stolen during the gathering, conversations that revealed a man nothing like the monster her uncle described. Quirin spoke of sailing to distant shores, of founding a settlement where old hatreds could be forgotten. He questioned the blood feud as she did, seeing the futility of its endless cycle. "We are not our fathers," he had told her on their last night at Kaupang, his fingers entwined with hers under the stars. "We need not carry their hatreds to our graves." But someone had seen them together. The accusation at the thing had been swift and terrible, her uncle calling for her death for betraying their clan. Only her mother's tearful intervention had changed the sentence to exile. Now, riding beside the man who should be her greatest enemy, Njala wondered what the Norns were weaving in their great loom of fate. The fjord lay 3 days' ride from the Saxon settlement, a hidden inlet surrounded by dense pine forests. A small group of huts nestled against the cliffs, a hunting camp used by the Torgstad clan during summer raids, now empty as winter approached. "We can shelter here until the first snow," Quirin said as they dismounted. "By then I'll have a plan." One of his men, Torsten, spat on the ground. "A plan for what?" "Your father has likely disowned you already. The Zendottir girl brings nothing but ruin." Quirin's hand moved to his sword hilt. "Watch your tongue, Torsten. You followed me freely." "I followed the son of my Jarl," Torsten growled. "Not a man bewitched by enemy blood." The runestone at Njala's throat pulsed with sudden heat. "I have brought no enchantment upon your lord," she said, stepping forward. If you believe so, you're free to leave. I release you from any obligation to me." Torsten's eyes widened slightly at her boldness, but he said nothing more. The other warriors busied themselves with the horses, avoiding the tension that hung in the air. That night, as they sat before the hearth fire in the largest hut, Quirin told her what had happened after her exile. "My father received word of your banishment and took it as a victory," he said quietly. "He boasted that the Zendottir clan was weakening, casting out their own. I couldn't bear to hear him speak of you that way." His calloused hand found hers in the firelight. "When I defended you, he grew suspicious. My sister Era overheard us arguing and told him everything, how we met at Kaupang, our meetings after." Njala's stomach tightened. "And he ordered my death." Quirin's grip on her hand strengthened. "He did. But I refused. That night, I took a ship with men loyal to me and sailed to find you. My father will view it as the ultimate betrayal. Yet you came anyway." His storm-grey eyes met hers. "I made an oath to find you. A man without honor is nothing but a shadow." Njala felt the weight of his sacrifice. For a Viking, clan was everything: identity, protection, future. In choosing her, Quirin had severed himself from all he knew. "What will we do now?" she asked. "Winter comes. We survive until spring, then sail east to lands where neither Torgstad nor Zendottir are known. We can build something new." The dream seemed impossible, yet as the days passed in the fjord camp, it began to take shape. Quirin and his men hunted, smoked meat for the winter, repaired the huts against coming storms. Njala gathered herbs, set snares, wove new cloaks from wool they'd brought. In the evenings, they spoke of the settlement they would build, the life they might forge together. 2 of Quirin's men slipped away one night, taking horses back toward Torgstad lands. Njala watched Quirin's face as he discovered their absence at dawn, the tightening of his jaw as he realized what it meant. "They've gone to your father," she said. "Yes." His voice was flat. "We must prepare. My father won't let this stand, a Torgstad heir choosing a Zendottir woman over his clan. He'll come with warriors." The remaining 2 men, Hakon and Gunnar, pledged to stand with Quirin. "We've followed you into Saxon lands and back," Hakon said. "We won't abandon you now." That night, as snow began to fall outside their hut, Njala felt the runestone grow warmer than ever before. She removed it from her neck, gasping as it glowed blue in the darkness. "Njala." Quirin sat up beside her on their sleeping bench. "What is that?" She told him of her grandmother's gift, the strange warmth that had grown stronger since meeting him. "I felt something awakening inside me," she admitted. "A power I don't understand." Instead of fear or suspicion, Quirin's expression showed only wonder. "My mother spoke of such things. She said magic runs in certain bloodlines, dormant until needed. Perhaps the Norns have been weaving our fates together all along." A week later, as they prepared for the coming battle, Njala's power manifested fully. While gathering wood near the fjord's edge, she saw visions in the water, ships approaching, warriors with Torgstad shields, led by a grey-bearded man whose resemblance to Quirin was unmistakable. When she touched the water, words came to her lips, ancient words she had never learned yet somehow knew. The water rippled, then stilled to perfect clarity, showing the fleet's position. They would reach the fjord by nightfall. She ran back to the camp, the runestone burning against her skin. "They come," she gasped. "Your father leads them, 3 ships, at least 30 warriors." Quirin stared at her. "How can you know this?" "The stone, my grandmother," she struggled to explain. "I saw them in the water." "I know it sounds like madness, but not madness," Quirin said quietly. "Seer. My mother had the sight as well, though my father forbade her to speak of it." He touched the glowing stone at her throat. "This is why you were cast out so readily, isn't it? Not just for loving me, but because they feared what awakens in you." The truth of his words struck her like a physical blow. Her uncle's hatred had always seemed excessive, even for a blood feud. He had feared her, not just because of her association with a Torgstad, but because of the power that ran in her grandmother's line. "If your father comes with 30 men, we cannot fight," she said. Quirin's face hardened. "No. But we can parley. My father respects the ancient laws. I'll call for a holmgang, a duel for your honor and my right to choose my own path." "He'll name his strongest warrior against you," Njala protested. "Or worse, he'll ignore the challenge entirely. Then I must make sure he cannot ignore it." Quirin clasped her hands. "Prepare what you need. Tonight, we face our fate." The ships arrived as the sun touched the horizon, their dragon prows emerging from the mist that clung to the fjord waters. Njala stood beside Quirin at the shore, the runestone now openly displayed around her neck, glowing with ethereal blue light. Hakon and Gunnar flanked them, weapons ready but not drawn. Jarl Sigurd Torgstad was the first to step ashore, his grey beard braided with gold rings, his cloak fastened with the bearclaw brooch that marked him as clan leader. His eyes, the same storm grey as Quirin's, moved from his son to Njala, narrowing at the sight of the glowing stone. "So," he said, voice like grinding stones, "my son returns, with a Zendottir witch at his side." Quirin stepped forward, one hand raised. "Father, I claim the right of holmgang. My honor against any man you choose, for the right to follow my own path with the woman I have chosen." Murmurs rippled through the warriors who had come ashore behind the Jarl. The holmgang was ancient law, to deny it would bring dishonor. Jarl Sigurd's laugh was bitter. "Honor? You speak of honor while standing beside the daughter of Roric Zendottir, the man who slaughtered your grandfather and uncles in their sleep. The blood of traitors runs in her veins." The accusation struck Njala like a physical blow. "My father was many things," she said, stepping forward, "but he was no murderer of sleeping men. He died with a sword in his hand, facing your warriors." "Not your father, girl. Your grandfather." The Jarl's eyes gleamed with old hatred. "Rorik's father, Sven Zendottir, broke a sacred truce. He came as a guest to our hall, ate our bread and salt, then slit the throats of my father and brothers as they slept." Njala felt the blood drain from her face. This was not the story she had been told. In her clan's telling, it was the Torgstads who had violated sacred guest right, murdering her great-uncle during a feast. 3 generations of blood have answered that betrayal, Jarl Sigurd continued. And now my son would lie with the granddaughter of the Oathbreaker. The runestone at Njala's throat pulsed, sending warmth through her body. With it came clarity, a sense that the Jarl's words held truth, but not the whole truth. Something deeper lay buried beneath 3 generations of hatred and revenge. "I challenge that account," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "And I offer proof beyond words." The Jarl's eyebrows rose. "What proof could a Zendottir offer that I would trust?" Njala raised the glowing stone. "This belonged to my grandmother, who received it from hers. It carries memories of those who wore it before." She had no idea if this was true, but the certainty flowed through her as if the stone itself were whispering to her. "I will show what truly happened, if you are brave enough to see it." A ripple of unease passed through the gathered warriors. Magic, women's magic especially, was both respected and feared. "Seer tricks," one of the warriors spat. "She seeks to bewitch us all, as she bewitched your son." but the Jarl raised his hand for silence, his eyes never leaving the glowing stone. "My wife had the sight," he said quietly. "She warned me that fate would bind our houses again, whether I willed it or not." He stepped closer to Njala, studying her face. "Show me, witch girl. Show me these memories you claim to possess." Quirin moved protectively toward Njala, but she gently pushed him back. "I must do this alone." Taking a deep breath, she closed her fingers around the stone and summoned the power that had been growing within her. The world around her blurred as the stone's blue light enveloped her and the Jarl. Visions flooded her mind, not just memories but truth, buried beneath decades of hatred. She saw two young men, blood brothers despite coming from rival families, taking an oath of friendship. She saw a woman they both loved, choosing one over the other. She saw jealousy festering into hatred, a feast arranged to heal old wounds, wine flowing too freely, accusations hurled like spears. She saw a fight erupting, men dying on both sides, not murder in the night but hot-blooded killing in a mead hall, fueled by old grievances and wounded pride. And at the center of it all, not her grandfather as the villain, nor Quirin's, but two proud men whose friendship had soured into a rivalry that neither would surrender. The vision faded, leaving Njala and Jarl Sigurd standing face to face on the shore, both breathing heavily as if they had run a great distance. "You saw," she said simply. The old Jarl's face had gone ashen. "I saw," he acknowledged, his voice rough. "Not as I was told. Not as our sagas recall. 3 generations of blood spilled for a quarrel between friends," Njala said. "For a woman long in her grave, and men too proud to yield." The Jarl looked past her to his son. "You knew none of this when you chose her?" "I knew only that I loved her," Quirin answered. "And that the blood feud has brought nothing but sorrow to both our clans." A long silence followed as Jarl Sigurd stared out across the fjord waters, now painted crimson by the setting sun. When he finally spoke, his voice had lost its harshness. "My wife said a Zendottir woman would either destroy our clan or save it." He turned back to face them. "I see now she meant you would destroy the hatred that has consumed us." He drew himself up, addressing both his warriors and Quirin. "The Holmgang will not be necessary. 3 generations is enough. The blood feud ends today." A murmur of disbelief rippled through the gathered warriors. One stepped forward, hand on his sword hilt. "Jarl, you cannot, I am still your Jarl," Sigurd thundered. "And I say the feud is done. Too much blood has been spilled for a lie neither side fully remembered." He turned to Quirin. "My son, you defied me for her. Would you defy me still if I welcomed her to our clan?" Quirin's expression was one of stunned disbelief. "Father, answer me, boy. Is it the defiance you craved, or is it truly this woman you would choose above all others?" "Her," Quirin said without hesitation. "Always her." The Jarl nodded slowly. "Then I will send word to her clan. The Zendottir must know what we now know, that our feud was built on half-truths and pride. If they will not end their hatred, they will stand alone in it." Njala felt dizzy with the sudden shift of fate. "My uncle will not easily surrender his hatred," she warned. "Then he will find himself isolated," the Jarl replied. "For I will speak to the other clans at the next thing. I will tell what your stone has revealed." He faced his warriors. "This woman has magic in her blood, the same seer power that ran in my wife's veins. The gods have shown us truth through her. Only a fool defies such a sign." That night, as fires burned along the shore and wary peace settled between the two groups, Quirin found Njala sitting alone by the water's edge. "My father wishes to speak with you at dawn," he said, settling beside her. "He has many questions about your gift." Njala leaned against him, the runestone now cool against her skin. I scarcely understand it myself. It awakened fully only when I needed it most. My mother once told me that true magic reveals itself in times of greatest need. His arms circled her shoulders. She said it runs strongest in those who stand between worlds, between clans, between old ways and new. Like us, Njala murmured. Like us. He turned her face toward his. My father speaks of building a new settlement come spring, not Torgstad, not Zendottir, but something new. He would have us lead it. Hope, fragile as the first spring shoots, unfurled in Njala's heart. And the blood feud. He has already sent riders to your clan with an offer of reconciliation and the truth your stone revealed. He offers exiled for the lives taken, and proposes a union between our houses. Quirin's eyes held hers. Our union, if you will have me. Njala thought of all that had transpired since her exile, the fear, the uncertainty, the strange awakening of power within her. The path ahead would not be easy. Her uncle would resist, some warriors on both sides would cling to old hatreds, the joining of the clans would face many challenges. Yet for the first time since her father's death, she felt hope for a future without the shadow of endless vengeance. The blood feud that had defined her life could end with her, not through more bloodshed but through love and truth. I will have you, she said, taking his hands in hers. Not as a Torgstad taking a Zendottir, but as Quirin and Njala, building something new from the ashes of old hatreds. Under the watchful eyes of stars that had witnessed countless Viking feuds and reconciliations, they sealed their promise with a kiss. The runestone at Njala's throat gave one final pulse of blue light, then faded to a gentle glow, a reminder that some magic, like the love between former enemies, needed no grand displays once its work was done. By the first thaw of spring, they would stand before both clans, hands bound by the sacred cord, speaking vows that would join not just two people but two bloodlines long divided. The settlement they would build together would become known in sagas as a place where old feuds were laid to rest and new beginnings forged, all because a woman cast out for loving her enemy discovered that the greatest magic was the power to transform hatred into hope.